Welcome to Unit 2, Lesson 20, Writing and Solving Inequalities in One Variable. This will be exactly like we did in the first half of Unit 2, where we were taking word problems and turning them into equations, only now we're taking word problems and we're turning them into inequalities. Our learning goal for this lesson is to solve problems by writing and solving inequalities in one variable. We have two learning targets for this lesson. Learning target number 1 is for you to be able to say, I can analyze the structure of an inequality in one variable to help determine if the solution is greater or less than the solution to the related equation. Learning target number 2 is for you to feel comfortable saying, I can write and solve inequalities to answer questions about a situation. Now we can begin the practice problems for Unit 2, Lesson 20, Writing and Solving Inequalities in One Variable. Our first practice problem: solve 2x is less than 10. Explain how to find the solution set. If we have 2x is less than 10, the opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. So we're going to do that to both sides to keep them equal. This leaves us with x is less than 10 divided by 2, which is 5. The solution set is all numbers less than 5. If you have any questions about how to solve this practice problem, please use class time to ask for clarification before we move forward. In our next practice problem, Lynn is solving the inequality 15 minus x is less than 14. She knows the solution to the equation 15 minus x equals 14 is x equals 1. How can Lynn determine whether x is greater than 1 or x is less than 1 is the solution to the inequality? She can pick a number that is either less than 1 or greater than 1 and test it in the inequality. So my personal favorite number to choose is 0. This would be 15 minus 0 is less than 14. 15 minus 0 equals 15. 15 is not less than 14. Therefore, 0 does not work, which means no numbers less than 1 will work. Therefore, the answer must be x is greater than 1 because x equals 0 makes the inequality false. If you have any questions about how to solve this practice problem, please use class time to ask for further clarification before we move forward. Our next practice problem says a cell phone company offers 2 texting plans. People who use plan A pay 10 cents for each text sent or received. People who use plan B pay $12 per month and then pay an additional 2 cents for each text sent or received. Number 1, write an inequality to represent the fact that it is cheaper for someone to use plan A than plan B. Use X to represent the number of texts they send. So, if we are looking at plan A paid 10 cents for each text. So if I were to write that, 10 cents is 0.1, and we will use X to represent the number of texts. So 0.1 times X. Plan B pay $12 per month and then pay an additional 2 cents for each text sent or received. So if we were to write this, plan B would be the $12 per month plus 0.02 to represent 2 cents times the number of text. Now, number 1 wants us to write the inequality to represent plan A being cheaper. So for number 1, plan A is 0.1x, and if it is cheaper to use plan A, then that means we would put less than plan B 12 plus 0.02x. Number 2 wants us to solve the inequality. So we have 0.1x is less than 12 plus 0.02x. As I've said, I want to work with positive x, so I am going to subtract the smaller x from both sides. This would give me 0.08x is less than 12. The opposite of multiplying by 0.08 is dividing by 0.08. We can put this into a calculator. 12 divided by 0.08 equals 150. This means Plan A is cheaper when someone sends and receives less than 150 texts per month. If they were to send exactly 150, the plans would be the same. And if they send more than 150, Plan B would be cheaper. If you have any questions about how to solve this practice problem, please use class time now to ask for further clarification. Our next practice problem, Claire made an error when solving negative 4x plus 3 is less than 23. Describe the error that she made. So let's look at her work. We can see that to go from step 1 to step 2, she subtracted 3. She subtracted 3 from the left. She subtracted 3 from the right. So far everything is good. Now we see that to go from the second step to the third step, she divided the left side by negative 4 to get x, and divided the right side by negative 4 to get negative 5. So if everything up to that point is correct, where is her mistake? This is a new feature with inequalities. If you divide by a negative, you must reverse the sign. She should have changed the less than sign to greater than. And just to demonstrate that this is true, let's take a look. This says x is less than negative 5. So we could try negative 6. Negative 4 times negative 6 becomes positive 24. 24 plus 3 becomes 27. And 27 is not less than 23. So her answer is wrong. But now let's try flipping the sign. If we flip the sign and x is greater than -5, then we could try something as simple as 0. -4 times 0 is 0. So we just end up with 3 is less than 23, which is true. So now we've proven that she should have flipped the sign when she divided by negative, because when we attempted -6, it did not make it true, so x should not be less than -5. But when we tried 0, it made it true, so we know that x should be greater than -5. If you have any questions about how to solve this practice problem, please use class time to ask for further clarification. Our last practice problem says Diego's goal is to walk more than 7,000 steps this week. The mean number of steps that Diego walked during the first 4 days of this week is 8,019. Write an inequality that expresses the mean number of steps that Diego needs to walk during the last 3 days of this week to walk more than 7,000 steps. Remember to define any variables that you use. So, we need to walk more than 70,000 steps this week. The mean number of steps during the first 4 days is 8,019. Write an inequality that expresses the mean number of steps Diego needs to walk during the last 3 days to walk more than 70,000 steps. So, we need the first 4 days times the mean, which is the average, 8,019. This will tell us how many steps Diego already walked. We need to add 3 times x, and we will say that x equals mean number of steps each of the last 3 days. So 4 times 8,019 will get us the total number of steps that Diego walked the first 4 days. Then 3 times x will get us the total number of steps that Diego walks the last 3 days. And all of these steps over those 7 days needs to be more than 70,000. So this would be the inequality that would solve this. Now number 2 wants to know if the mean number of steps Diego walks during the last 3 days of the week is 12,642, will Diego reach his goal of walking more than 70,000 steps this week? To answer this, we simply need to substitute 12,642 for x and see if it makes this inequality true. So in a calculator, 4 times 8,019 equals 32,076. Then 3 times 12,642 equals 37,926. And again, that needs to be more than 70,000 to make this true. If I add the 37,926 to the 32,076, I get 70,002 steps. That is greater than 70,000 steps. So the answer is yes, Diego will reach his goal. Because 70,002 is greater than 70,000. If you have any questions about how to answer any of the practice problems from lesson 20, please use class time to ask for further clarification before we move on to lesson 21.